All right. So tonight, as you can tell, we do things a little different on Saturday nights. For one, we give a little bit more room for worship to go a little bit longer. If you didn't pick that on that, and I am still going to speak as long as everybody else does. No, I'm not. Don't worry. So kind of for Saturday nights, the plan is to spend a little bit more time in worship, have speaking a little shorter, and have some more time for ministry and that kind of stuff. So it's still going to be like 3 hours long, but no. It'll still only be an hour and a half. But we just wanted to give some more room for worship, give some more room for ministry time, and that way you guys don't have to hear that much from me. And we're all probably very happy about that. I know my son is on the front row, very happy. My son, yes. Which he made the principal honor roll this last semester, so very proud of him. He's my scholar. I go to him when I need to spell things. So I'm going to be doing a series over the next couple of months on the statement that God told me at the end of this last year for this year and kind of why we started Saturday nights. And that was give me room and see what I can do. And it was a very interesting word because it wasn't hey, sit there, don't do anything, and see what I can do. It wasn't watch and see what I can do. It was give me room, which was more of an action statement than a sit there statement. And so it kind of reminded me when I worked at Panera Bread. I was a GM there. And we had to do a lot of things, but one of the things is we would have to host people, either my boss or his boss, all the way up to the VIP or the VP of operations. And so it really mattered who you were making room for. So tonight I want to talk about who are we making room for? Who are we giving room for? So when my boss would come, we would typically know a few days ahead, and we'd spend maybe a day getting ready to make sure the counters were clean, extra clean, make sure everything was straightened. We'd spend like a day. But if the area manager, which was his boss, was coming, well, we would spend 2 or 3 days getting ready for him, make sure it's even much better cleaned and everything's in order. But then one time, our VP of operations for half of the United States was coming. And so we spent like 2 weeks and countless hours making sure everything was perfect. So when she walked through for those 5 minutes, literally it was 5 minutes at the very end of the day, that everything was perfect. Because it mattered who was coming. And it mattered who we were making room for. And so who are we making room for? And why does it matter? So in history, there was an innkeeper that had a moment to decide whether he was going to give room or not. A man and a woman, the woman was pregnant and they were not married, stood at his door looking for a room. He had no rooms available, but something inside him told him that he needed to make some room for him. It didn't make sense to him to allow this couple that weren't married, that she was pregnant, to give them room. But something inside him said, who am I making room for? Most of you know the rest of the story. The innkeeper made room for Mary and Joseph in the stable. But he didn't know who he really was making room for. And because he made room for the very Son of God to be born in, it was born in his stable, not the guy's next door. Because who's at your door and who you're making room for matters. He didn't really know who it was, but there had to be something inside of him that sent him to the stable. Because that was a place where his animals lived, and they ate there, and And that was what made him money. I don't think we realize that the stable is a place where he kept things that were very valuable to him. He didn't know what those people that were going to do. And in that time, in that culture, an unmarried woman pregnant with a man probably wasn't the most trustworthy type of person they thought would be. But something inside of him said, okay, you can be in the stable. Because who matters? So tonight, I just want to go through a little bit of who Jesus is. Which when I started on this journey, I'm like, well, everybody kind of knows who Jesus is. Especially in this room. Like, they're going to just kind of check out and go, what do you mean, Jesus? I've heard of Jesus my whole life. But I thought, well, maybe it's good to just kind of remind us who we're making room for. So if you have your Bibles or app or tablet or whatever you use, which is awesome, turn to Matthew 8, verse 2. And so this is Jesus. It says, a man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, see that you don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them. Then Jesus had entered Capernaum. A centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home, paralyzed, suffering terribly. Let's drop down to verse 13. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go, let it be done just as you believe it would. And his servant was healed at that moment. So you have two different people in the same moment came to Jesus, and he healed the one right there in front of everybody, a leper. And if you don't know, back then, leprosy was perceived as someone that was unclean, that had to isolate themselves and could not interact with people because they were afraid that they would give it to somebody else. And so they were considered unclean, and they had no interaction. But when Jesus healed them, his life turned upside down. Think about it. Somebody that has to be isolated their whole life, what their family's gone through, what their friends have gone through, what he's gone through, and in a moment of meeting Jesus, his life is completely turned around. Just because he met the man that did something about his condition. Same with the centurion. He wasn't even sick. His servant was sick. And he asked Jesus. And Jesus said, yeah, we'll heal him. Go for it. He's healed. Just like that. How many think if you knew somebody that would go search out a man if you were sick, his servant was sick, but he went and searched a man out so he could be healed, how many people would be not pounding on his door saying, can I work for you? Think about it. They would know that this man would find the man that would heal them if he was his employee. Totally would revolutionize his life. His life radically changed because Jesus healed his servant. So who is Jesus that heals the leper? Let's look at some other stuff that he does. This is Matthew 9, verse 27. As Jesus went from there, 2 blind men followed him, calling out, have mercy on us, Son of David. When he had gone indoors, the blind men came to him, and he asked them, do you believe that I am able to do this? Yes, Lord, they replied. Then he touched their eyes and said, according to your faith, let it be done to you. And their sight was restored. Jesus warned them sternly, see that no one knows about this. But they went out and spread the news about him all over the region. While they were going out, a man who was demon-possessed and could not talk was brought to Jesus. And when the demon was driven out, the man who had been mute spoke. The crowd was amazed and said, "Nothing like this has ever seen in Israel." Again, who is Jesus? He heals the blind. He sets the captive free. The blind man couldn't help himself and told the story of the man that healed him throughout the region. Because one man got healed, the whole region knew about Jesus. Because his life was totally changed. He had a future now. His family had a future because he was healed by Jesus. And then the crowd for the demon-possessed person said, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." I like how Matthew puts it, and then Mark says, chapter 4, says, "Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in the synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them." So who are we giving room to? I think we often forget who Jesus really was and what he did. When I was reading through this, this was one of the toughest messages I've ever put together, because I just kept getting overwhelmed with who Jesus really is. He's not a man that just lived a long time ago, but he's alive today. And these are the type of things he's still wanting to do. Because this is the one we're giving room to, the one that opens blind eyes, raises up the cripples, cleanses the lepers, raises the dead, set the captives free. He walks on water, he feeds 5,000. He calms the storms. He cleanses the women with issues of blood. He heals the mute and lame. The one who gave it all so that we can have life. So who are we making room for tonight? Can we make enough room for the one that can change everything? Do we make room for the one that changes everything? He can change everything in a moment. And the world around us needs to be changed in a moment. They need the one that can be changed in a moment. So part of the reason we want to give room is because of the one who we're giving room for. So tonight, I just hope we stir up a hunger in you for the one that we're making room. That you start reading the stories of what he did, and it stirs something in you that says, I want that. I want the one that created me to operate in me. Angel, if we can have the band come up. So when we make room for the one, it's important to know who that one is. So why don't you guys stand with me? I hope that you'll find Saturday nights is very interactive. And this is not just sit and watch, but we're going to interact with the one. Because he's the one we're giving room to. So tonight, I think we need to set our hearts on making room for the one, but knowing why. Why are we making room for that one? And who is that? Who is the Jesus that we serve? I think we all need a fresh, I know I do. I know I need a fresh revelation of who Jesus is. I've been in church my whole life, and I've heard many, many miraculous stories of him. But I still need a refreshing of how good he is and what he does for people, what he does for me. So tonight, I'm just asking God to give us a fresh hunger, a fresh fire to find out who this one is. So Jesus, we just say we love you, but we want to know you more. We want you to be active like you were when what we read about. And we know you are, but we just want more. We want more of you. We want to be more like you. And to be more like you, we got to know you. We got to know what you do and how you do it. Because you care for people so much that you were willing to do anything so you can radically change their lives and change every family around them and change society around them. So you can change cities, you can change neighborhoods, and you can change nations because of what you do. So I just invite you tonight, if you're wanting a fresh look at who Jesus is, I just invite you to come up front, and we're just going to kind of go after this together. But you just want a fresh look at who Jesus is and what he does. Because Jesus, we want to know you. We want to know what you do. We want to know how you love people. God, we want to set people free. Jesus, we give you permission to be you here tonight. So God, we ask right now, God, we command healing in bones, in ligaments, right now, complete healing in Jesus' name. God, we declare freedom in this house tonight. God, we cooperate with you to give freedom tonight. Oh. God, release a Jesus movement again. Oh, Jesus, God. Yes, God. Revival. We want to see your kingdom come. To see your kingdom here, Jesus. Lift it high. So I release right now that you'll have dreams in the night of what Jesus wants to do. That you're going to start having dreams and you're going to see the miracles that he did. And it's going to raise your faith to start doing it yourself with him. But right now I release dreams. God, I just ask for dreams that will build faith. God, that I release that they will start seeing what you did so that we know it's possible. Because we know if you did it, we can partner with you and it'll happen again. So Jesus, we want it about you. We want it about you. And we know you're the one that went and healed people and set people free. So we just declare that we are people that did it all. So God, I just thank you that you have put us on a journey that's all about you. And that you're here. And that we're here to see what you will do. Because we're going to give you room in every aspect of our lives.